Hi, man with eTrailer. If you have a 2024 Ram 1500, you like using a roof rack, but you don't like trying to reach up on top of your truck because that is pretty high, then the Yakima BedRock is going to be a great option for you. So let's check it out. Where I think this is really going to stand out is if you have anything like roof boxes or any type of basket, more of a container that you like using, but you don't have to reach up on top of your truck because the cab is pretty high up. And maybe those items, you don't want them exposed to the elements. Being able to still use that roof box is going to be really a great option for you, especially since you can just keep it here on your bed instead. And this is really a simple kit. There's going to be 3 parts to it. We're going to have our 75-inch HD Yakima crossbars. We're going to have the towers, and then we're going to have the clamp too. And with these HD crossbars, they are going to be pretty big, heavy duty, so you can't put a lot of accessories on here. And we're also going to have this T-channel at the top that has a weather strip on it. That weather strip is going to help reduce wind noise and keep any debris from getting in here. And it's going to allow you to use T-channel accessories because getting those clamp-on accessories around here is going to be pretty tough since this is a thicker bar. And at the very end, we're going to have a tie-off. And that's going to be great if you have anything like kayaks that you want to put on here too. Now you will be pretty limited on kayaks. If you have a smaller one, if you push these to the back, you might be able to fit it on here, but it will be a great option still just to have the tie-off other accessories too. And then we're going to have the towers that connect underneath this crossbar because this is going to have one continuous channel underneath. And it's a really simple system. It just sits on your bed rails, and then it attaches to your clamp. The clamp is just going to have 2 prongs that insert into the tower, and then we're going to have a bolt that comes up underneath and apply pressure underneath our bed rail. And what I really like about this is each clamp is going to have a lock core installed on it, so each one's going to be very secure so no one can come by and take your bed rack. And since this is on your bed, it is going to take up quite a bit of space, but you will be able to store items underneath here still. So the amount of space you can have to do that with is going to be just about 20.5 inches. So anything below that will be fine. Now if you have anything bigger, like maybe a small fridge, that might be kind of tough to get past this. But these are really easy to get on and off, so you can just simply either scoot them back or take them off completely. Now for the total distance is going to stick up from your bed. You go from our bed rail, that's only going to be about 3 inches. So really, it's not going to block your back window much. You might see it a little bit, but it won't block anything. Now what will block the back of your window is if you have anything on top of here. So that's really just going to depend on what accessories you're carrying. And as far as overhang, we will have a little bit of overhang. It won't be much. So if you had anything like a kayak carrier, the clamp here probably isn't going to be able to fit. Now what will fit is if you have any ski carriers. If they have some clamps that can wrap around these HD bars, then you'll probably be able to put it on the very edge of here. And that's saying something because your bed's going to be pretty wide, so these are some pretty wide crossbars. And then talk about that bed too, that total space we're able to use. Really, the only spots you're going to be limited where you can't place these at are going to be a couple inches nearest to your cab and a couple inches nearest to your tailgate. That's going to be because just the shape of the bed really doesn't leave room for anything anywhere for those clamps to really seat underneath your bed rails. But you're going to have plenty of options to use back here. We only went with this spread because it is pretty small, but we're going to put on some roof boxes later on and we need a smaller crossbar spread. So really, it's just going to depend on what you're carrying. We're also going to have a pretty sturdy weight capacity that comes with these, but really you're probably going to be limited on what your bed is. Now your bed is probably going to have a higher weight capacity, but if you're using your bed for other things, if you have a lot of concrete or anything just weighing down your bed, just make sure you include the weight capacity or what's on your crossbars as well. Now in my opinion, I think this is a great option if you just have something you need to throw on these crossbars that's going to be more of an enclosed box. Now if you really need more space out of your bed, something that's going to be a bit more adjustable, then I recommend checking out the Yakima Ladder Rack because that's going to have the ability to adjust up and down even get above your cab. But the issue with that though is if you really don't need those abilities too often and you need to take off that ladder rack, there's going to be a few more steps. With this, all I have to do is loosen up a bolt, slide it back, or even just take it off. It doesn't take much time at all. Now if you are curious to see what this installation looks like, just stay tuned and we'll walk you through it. To start off installation, I'm going to lay everything out. You probably already noticed too, I already have my front crossbar installed, but it's going to be the same process for either one. So all the parts I'm going to have, the first part is going to be our 75-inch HD crossbars. Behind here, we're going to have our towers. We're going to have the locking clamp. And then we're going to have the hardware, which is going to be this bolt and this foot right here. You're going to have two Allen keys. One of them is going to have a torquing device on it to let you know everything is tightened down to its specs. And what I recommend doing is grabbing a tape measure so you can make sure everything's even. Where I like to start off with is going to be the crossbar. So we're going to flip that over. The underside is going to have this bolt that's showing through. We're going to loosen that up and take it out. You can take it out two ways. You can try to pick it out, or you can just flip it over. That bolt will fall right out. Remove that end cap. And then you put on the towers. So you can actually put them both on from the same side. And I like to do that. So I'm going to make sure that the first one goes in the opposite direction as this, facing this way, so it can grab on to our bed rails. I'm going to push it to the other side. I'm going to grab the second one. And the way that these install is you're going to have this metal block at the bottom. It's going to go into this channel. And this one's going to be in the opposite direction. Push it on a little bit. There you have it. You just make sure you put your end cap back on and tighten down this bolt. Now also make sure you don't tighten these down quite yet, because we need to adjust where they sit. And then next step is pretty much going to be this. So I'm just grabbing the crossbar, lifting up on it, placing it down. Now you'll probably notice my towers are just kind of hanging there. So what I'm going to do now is just adjust how they sit. I'll lift up on this, push it all the way over until it's flush, just like that. Go over to the other side, do that same thing. And everything doesn't have to be perfect quite yet. As you can tell, I have a lot of overhang here. So what I like to do is just measure from our tower to the end of our crossbar, get that distance, and try to make sure it's even on both ends. Now I already know mine's off, so I'm just going to push mine in a bit, then measure again, and keep doing this until I have everything even. Now before I fully commit to this location, I'm just going to get a few measurements. So the first one I'm going to get is just going to be the distance from where our tower is sitting to someplace on our bed that I know it's going to be the same on both sides. So what I'm going to use is a stake pocket. That's going to sit right about there. Once I have that, I'll just check the other side. And if it's off, I'll just grab one of the sides and either push or pull it away from me. Now that I have everything where I want it to be, I'm actually going to flip these over carefully, making sure I don't shift it too much. Just right about there. Now I'm going to grab our other Allen key and tighten down our towers. And when you're doing this, you want to tighten it down all the way. And what I'm trying to do is make sure this is secured, and you might run into the issue where when you put this back down, it might be a little bit off. That's fine. Just make sure you just double check your measurements. And if you have to adjust anything, just shift it over some and retighten it down. The next step is just going to be getting our clamps ready. And to show you roughly how this is going to go together is you're just going to make sure this is at an angle, not flush to begin with. You're just going to push it over here, find some gaps, and it'll seat in place. But before we do that, we want to make sure we put on our bolt at the bottom. It'll just screw onto a hole. We're going to grab our foot pack, put that on top, and just slide it in these two holes right here. Once we've gone that far, we're just going to come to the bottom, tighten this bolt as much as we can until we find that we have a lot of resistance. Once we get to a point with a lot of resistance, we're going to push down that handle. And something you might find too is this might shift a little bit, so just kind of come over here, make sure you push down on it a bit to make sure it's fitting on here properly. And then you can finally push down that handle like I was saying earlier. You're just going to put some pressure behind it until it goes down. Now if it's too hard, just kind of loosen it up a bit. It'll cinch down. And then you repeat this process on the other side. And the last step is really just giving it a good shake test, making sure this isn't going anywhere. And if that feels pretty secure for you, then you load it up with whatever gear you have and hit the road. That's just a look at the Yakima BedRock bed rack on our 2024 Ram 1500. I'm Matt. Thanks for watching.